Stop scrolling right now. What I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about power, success, and human nature. For over 500 years, the most dangerous book ever written has been banned, burned, and buried by those in power. Why? Because it exposes the raw truth about how the world really works, the truth they never want you to discover. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli, and in 1513, he wrote something so revolutionary, so brutally honest about nature, human, that the Catholic Church immediately banned it. Kings feared it. Emperors studied it in secret. Napoleon carried it into battle. Stalin kept it on his nightstand. And today, the most powerful people on earth still use these forbidden lessons to build empires while you struggle just to get ahead. But here's what they don't want you to know. These aren't just political strategies for rulers and tyrants. These are psychological principles that work in every area of life. Your career, your relationships, your personal. Every single battle's day. People are using these tactics against even realize it. Today you, and you don't, I'm going to break the code of silence. I'm going to expose the 7 forbidden lessons that Machiavelli discovered about human psychology, power, and influence. Lessons so powerful that once you understand them, you'll never be manipulated again. You'll see through every lie, every deception, every attempt to control you. And most importantly, you'll finally understand why some people seem to effortlessly rise to the top, while others remain stuck at the bottom. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose truth over comfort, because what you're about to learn won't make you feel good. It's going to make you uncomfortable. It's going to challenge everything you believe about fairness, morality, and how the world should work. But it's going to make you unstoppable. Let's start with the first forbidden lesson that changes everything. Lesson 1, the illusion of virtue. Here's something that's going to shock you. Being good doesn't make you successful. In fact, it often makes you a target. Machiavelli discovered something that society desperately wants to hide from you. The people who rise to the top aren't necessarily the most virtuous. They're the ones who understand that appearance matters more than reality. Think about the most successful people you know. Your boss, that friend who always gets what they want, the politicians who win elections. Are they the nicest people? Are they the most honest? Or are they the ones who know exactly how to present themselves to get what they need? Machiavelli put it perfectly when he said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you." What he meant is this: most people will never know your true character. They only know what you show them. And if you can master the art of appearing virtuous while making the hard decisions necessary for success, you hold all the power. This doesn't mean becoming a monster. This means understanding that the world judges you by results, not intentions. You can have the purest heart in the world, but if you can't deliver what people need, they won't respect you. Meanwhile, someone who appears caring and competent while actually getting things done will earn loyalty, respect, and success. The uncomfortable truth is that perception shapes reality. If people perceive you as weak, you become weak in their eyes. If they perceive you as strong, you become strong. The most powerful people understand this game and play it masterfully. Lesson 2, the power of strategic fear. Now this one's going to make you uncomfortable, but it's perhaps the most important lesson you'll ever learn about human psychology. Machiavelli asked a question that changed everything. Is it better to be loved or feared? His answer shocked the world, and it still shocks people today. He concluded that while being both loved and feared is ideal, if you have to choose, it's far safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love depends on the goodwill of others, but fear depends on something you can control: the dread of consequences. Before you think this makes Machiavelli evil, understand what he really meant. He wasn't talking about terrorizing people. He was talking about establishing clear boundaries and consequences. When people know that crossing you will cost them something, they respect those boundaries. When people know they can walk all over you without any pushback, they will. Think about the teachers you respected most in school. Were they the ones who let you get away with everything? Or were they the ones who had clear rules and actually enforced them? The strict teacher who demanded excellence wasn't trying to hurt you. They were trying to help you grow. But they understood that growth requires discipline, and discipline requires consequences. This principle applies everywhere. In your career, if you never, you'll get stand up for yourself, passed over for promotions. In your relationships, if you never set boundaries, people will take advantage of your kindness. In your personal life, if you don't create consequences for bad behavior becomes the norm. The people who command respect aren't necessarily the meanest or the cruelest. They're the ones who are predictably fair but unmovable when their boundaries are crossed. They don't threaten or make empty promises. They simply make it clear that certain behaviors will have certain consequences, and then they follow through every single time. Lesson 3. The Mask of Leadership. Here's where things get really interesting. Machiavelli understood something about human psychology that most people never figure out. People don't want to know the truth about how decisions are made. They want to believe in the image you project. This is the concept of what Machiavelli called appearing virtuous versus being virtuous. He observed that successful leaders must sometimes make harsh decisions for the greater good, but they must do so while maintaining the appearance of being compassionate and moral. Think about a doctor who has to deliver bad news to a patient. The doctor knows the patient needs to hear the truth, even though it will cause pain. The doctor appears calm and caring while delivering information that might devastate someone's world. This isn't deception. This is understanding that how you deliver truth matters as much as the truth itself. The most effective leaders understand that people need to see strength and competence, but they also need to feel that their leader cares about them. This requires a delicate balance. You must be willing to make unpopular decisions when necessary, but you must also communicate those decisions in a way that shows you understand their impact on others. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for deception. He was advocating for emotional intelligence, understanding that leadership often requires you to absorb the stress and difficulty of hard choices so that others don't have to. You take on the burden of making tough calls while projecting the confidence and stability that others need to see. This is why great leaders often seem calm in crisis situations. It's not that they don't feel the pressure, it's that they understand their role requires them to be the stable force that others can rely on. They wear the mask of confidence even when they're uncertain, because they know that their uncertainty would create panic in others. Lesson 4. The Art of Strategic Deception. Now, before you close this video thinking I'm teaching you to become a manipulative person, hear me out. Machiavelli understood something crucial about human nature and conflict. Sometimes the truth, delivered at the wrong time or in the wrong way, causes more harm than good. This isn't about lying to hurt people. This is about understanding that information is power, and power must be used responsibly. Think about negotiations. If you reveal all your cards up front, you lose your ability to find creative solutions that benefit everyone. If you show all your capabilities immediately, people might take advantage of your openness. Strategic deception often means knowing when to reveal information and when to withhold it. It means understanding that timing matters as much as truth. A parent doesn't tell a 5-year-old about all the dangers in the world because that information would create fear without providing the child with the ability to handle those dangers appropriately. In your career, this might mean not revealing all your skills in the first week of a new job. Instead, you demonstrate competency gradually, creating the impression that you're continuously growing and adding value. In negotiations, it might mean not showing how badly you want something, because desperation weakens your position. The key principle here is that strategic deception should serve a greater purpose. It should either protect people from information they can't handle constructively, or it should create better outcomes for everyone involved. It's never about gaining advantage through dishonesty. It's about understanding that how and when you share information affects the results you can achieve. This lesson teaches us that naivety isn't a virtue. In a world where others are playing strategic games with information, being completely transparent about everything can actually harm your ability to help yourself and others. The most effective people understand this balance and use it responsibly. Lesson 5. The Fortune Principle. Here's something that will completely change how you think about success and failure. Machiavelli discovered that life is governed by two forces, what he called virtù and fortuna. Virtù isn't virtue as we understand it today. It's your ability to act decisively and adapt to changing circumstances. Fortuna is everything outside your control: luck, timing, other people's decisions, economic conditions. Most people get this backwards. They blame everything on bad luck when things go wrong, and they credit everything to good luck when things go right. But Machiavelli understood something different. He said that fortune is like a violent river. When it's calm, you can build dikes and channels to direct its flow. But when it floods, it destroys everything in its path. The people who consistently succeed aren't the luckiest people. They're the ones who prepare for both good fortune and bad fortune. They build their skills when times are easy, so they can handle challenges when times get hard. They save resources during abundance so they can survive scarcity. They develop relationships during peaceful periods so they have allies during conflicts. Think about this practically. That person in your office who always seems to get the best opportunities isn't just lucky. They've positioned themselves strategically. They've developed skills that make them valuable. They've built relationships that open doors. When an opportunity appears, they're ready to seize it because they've been preparing all along. Machiavelli observed that fortune favors the bold, but only when that boldness is backed by preparation. You happens to you, but you can control how ready you are for what they can influence what happens to you. The most successful people spend their energy on, rather than complaining about what they can't control. This changes everything about how you approach setbacks. Instead of asking why this happened to you, you start asking what you can learn from this situation and how you can be better prepared next time. Instead of waiting for your lucky break, you start creating conditions where you'll be ready when opportunities present themselves. Lesson 6. The Loyalty Paradox. This lesson is going to challenge everything you think you know about relationships and trust. Machiavelli discovered something disturbing about human nature. The people who owe you the most are often the first to betray you. Meanwhile, the people you've conquered or defeated often become your most loyal supporters. Why does this happen? Because people hate feeling indebted. When you help someone repeatedly, you might think you're building loyalty, but you're actually creating resentment. They start to feel like they owe you something they can never repay. This debt becomes a burden that makes them uncomfortable around you. Eventually, they'll find ways to justify betraying you just to escape that feeling of obligation. On the other hand, when you defeat someone fairly or overcome their resistance through superior strategy, something different happens. They respect your strength. They understand that you earned your position. There's no debt hanging over the relationship, just clear acknowledgement of who has the power and who doesn't. Think about your own relationships. Have you ever noticed that the people you've helped the most sometimes become the most critical of you? Or that people who initially opposed you sometimes become your strongest supporters once you've proven yourself? This isn't coincidence. This is human psychology. Machiavelli understood that sustainable relationships are built on mutual respect, not on one person constantly giving to another. When the giving becomes one-sided, it creates an imbalance that breeds resentment. The person receiving starts to feel weak or dependent, and they'll often lash out at the person helping them just to restore their sense of dignity. This doesn't mean you should stop helping people. It means you should help strategically. Help people in ways that empower them rather than creating dependency. Give them opportunities to succeed rather than solving all their problems for them. Let them earn what you give them so they can feel proud of what they've accomplished. The most powerful people understand that loyalty isn't bought with favors. It's earned through consistent strength, fairness, and respect. People follow leaders who make them feel strong, not leaders who make them feel indebted. Lesson 7. The Adaptability Imperative. Here's the final forbidden lesson that separates those who build lasting success from those who experience temporary victories. Machiavelli observed that the graveyard of history is filled with people who couldn't adapt to changing circumstances. They found a strategy that worked once, and they kept using it long after it stopped being effective. He said something profound. Those who desire constant success must change their conduct with the times. The world is constantly evolving. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. The skills that got you where you are might not be the skills that take you where you want to go. Most people resist change because change feels dangerous. They'd rather stick with methods they know, even when those methods are no longer producing results. But Machiavelli understood that the greatest danger isn't in changing. The greatest danger is in refusing to change when change is necessary. Look at the most successful people in any field. They're not the ones who found one thing they're good at and never evolved. They're the ones who constantly reinvent themselves. They study new trends. They develop new skills. They abandon strategies that used to work in favor of strategies that work now. This requires a specific mindset. You have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. You have to be comfortable with uncertainty. You have to value results more than being right. Most people would rather be right about their old strategies than successful with new ones. The business world is full of companies that dominated their industries for decades and then disappeared because they couldn't adapt to new realities. The same thing happens to individuals. The person who was indispensable 10 years ago becomes irrelevant today because they refuse to learn new skills or adapt to new circumstances. Machiavelli called this having a flexible disposition, the ability to be ruthless when ruthlessness is needed, gentle when gentleness is needed, aggressive when aggression serves your goals, and patient when patience is the better strategy. This isn't about having no principles. This is about understanding that rigid application of any principle, even good ones, can lead to failure when circumstances change. The most dangerous phrase in any language is, "But we've always done it this way." The moment you stop adapting is the moment you start dying. The world doesn't owe you success just because you were successful in the past. You have to earn it again every single day by staying relevant to current realities. The people who master this lesson understand something crucial about power. It's not static, it's dynamic. What gives you influence today might make you powerless tomorrow if you don't evolve with changing circumstances. Think about the leaders you admire most. They're not the ones who found their comfort zone and stayed there. They're the ones who reinvented themselves repeatedly throughout their careers. They studied their failures more intensely than their successes. They asked different questions when the world changed around them. But here's where most people get adaptation wrong. They think it means abandoning everything they've learned and starting over. That's not adaptation, that's panic. True adaptation means keeping your core principles while changing your methods. It means staying true to your values while being flexible about your tactics. Machiavelli watched princes rise and fall based on this single factor. The ones who survived weren't necessarily the strongest or the smartest. They were the ones who could read the changing political winds and adjust their approach accordingly. When diplomacy was needed, they became diplomatic. When force was required, they used force. When patience served them better, they waited. This lesson applies to every area of your life. In your career, the skills that got you hired might not be the skills that get you promoted. The industry you work in today might not exist in 10 years. The relationship strategies that worked when you were 20 might not work when you're 40. The world keeps moving and you have to move with it. The most successful people treat change as information, not as a threat. When something stops working, they don't get angry or frustrated. They get curious. They ask what has changed and how they need to adapt. They see every failure as data that helps them refine their approach. Now here's what nobody tells you about these 7 forbidden lessons. Knowing them isn't enough. Understanding them intellectually won't change your life. These principles only become powerful when you apply them consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it goes against your natural instincts. Most people will watch this video, nod their heads, and then go back to doing exactly what they were doing before. They'll continue being naive about human nature. They'll keep expecting fairness in an unfair world. They'll remain predictable and therefore controllable. But you're different. You've made it this far, which means you're ready to see the world as it really is, not as you wish it were. You're ready to stop being a victim of other people's Machiavellian strategies and start using these principles to protect yourself and achieve your goals. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Because here's the brutal truth. The moment you clicked on this video, you started a process that can't be reversed. You can't unknow what you now know about human psychology and power dynamics. You can't go back to believing that the world operates on fairness and good intentions. You have two choices. You can pretend you never learned these lessons and continue being manipulated by people who understand them better than you do. Or you can embrace the uncomfortable reality of how influence really works and use these principles ethically to create better outcomes for yourself and the people you care about. Remember, Machiavelli wasn't trying to create monsters. He was trying to help good people survive in a world where not everyone plays by the same rules. He understood that nice people finish last, not because being nice is wrong, but because being only nice makes you vulnerable to people who understand power dynamics better than you do. These 7 lessons aren't about becoming ruthless or cruel. They're about becoming strategically intelligent. They're about understanding that the world has rules that nobody teaches you in school. And if you don't learn these rules, you'll spend your entire life wondering why other people seem to get ahead while you struggle. The appearance of virtue matters more than virtue itself because most people judge what they can see, not what they can't. Strategic fear creates respect and clear boundaries that protect everyone involved. The mask of leadership allows you to make hard decisions while maintaining the stability others need. Strategic deception protects information until it can be used constructively. The fortune principle teaches you to prepare for both good times and bad times. The loyalty paradox shows you that sustainable relationships are built on mutual respect, not one-sided giving. And adaptability ensures that you stay relevant as the world changes around you. Every single day, people around you are using these principles, whether they realize it or not. Your boss uses strategic deception when they don't tell you about layoffs until the decision is final. Your friends use the appearance of virtue when they present themselves in the best possible light on social media. Your competitors use adaptability when they change their strategies based on market conditions. The difference is, now you understand what's happening. You can see the game being played instead of being a piece that others move around the board. You can make conscious choices about how to respond instead of just reacting emotionally to situations you don't understand. But with this knowledge comes responsibility. These principles are tools, and like any tools, they can be used to build or to destroy. The choice is yours. You can use them to manipulate others for selfish gain, or you can use them to protect yourself and create better outcomes for everyone involved. The most ethical application of Machiavellian principles isn't to hurt others. It's to level the playing field. It's to make sure that your good intentions aren't exploited by people with bad intentions. It's to ensure that your kindness comes from a position of strength, not weakness. When you understand these lessons, your generosity becomes more powerful because people know you choose to be generous, not because you're afraid to say no. Your honesty becomes more valuable because people know you could deceive them if you wanted to, but you choose not to. Your kindness becomes more meaningful because it comes from someone who understands the realities of power, but chooses compassion anyway. This is the true power of Machiavellian wisdom. It doesn't make you heartless. It makes you heartless when necessary and compassionate when possible. It gives you the tools to navigate a complex world while maintaining your integrity and achieving your goals. The people who have tried to suppress these teachings for 500 years understood something important. Knowledge is power, and they wanted to keep that power for themselves. They wanted you to remain naive and controllable. They wanted you to believe that good intentions are enough, that fairness will prevail, and that playing by their rules will eventually reward you. But now you know better. Now you understand that the game has rules they never taught you, and those rules determine who wins and who loses. The question isn't whether you'll play the game. You're already playing it whether you realize it or not. The question is whether you'll play it consciously and strategically, or whether you'll continue playing it blindly while others use your ignorance against you. The truth is, most people will never implement what they've learned today. They'll go back to their comfortable illusions about fairness and good intentions. They'll continue wondering why others seem to effortlessly navigate situations that leave them confused and powerless. But you're not most people. You've chosen to see reality as it is, not as you wish it were. And that choice changes everything. Here's what happens next. Over the coming days and weeks, you're going to start noticing things you never saw before. You'll recognize when someone is using the appearance of virtue to mask their true intentions. You'll spot strategic deception in conversations. You'll see the loyalty paradox playing out in your workplace and personal relationships. This awareness might feel uncomfortable at first. It's like putting on glasses for the first time and realizing how blurry your vision had been. The world suddenly becomes sharper, but also more complex. You'll see manipulation attempts that would have fooled you before. You'll recognize power plays that used to confuse you. Some people in your life won't like this new version of you. The ones who benefited from your naivety will resist your transformation. They'll try to guilt you back into your old patterns. They'll say you're becoming cold or calculating when you start setting boundaries and thinking strategically. Let them. Their discomfort with your growth is proof that you're moving in the right direction. When you stop being easy to manipulate, manipulative people get frustrated. When you stop accepting whatever treatment they give you, people who took advantage of your kindness get angry. This is where most people give up. They feel guilty for disappointing others and retreat back to their old ways. But you have to understand something crucial. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries and your growth. The ones who don't respect these changes were never really on your side to begin with. Your transformation won't happen overnight. These principles require practice and refinement. Start small. Choose one lesson and focus on implementing it consistently. Maybe begin with the appearance of virtue. Pay attention to how you present yourself in important situations. Are you projecting the competence and confidence that your goals require, or start with the fortune principle? Begin preparing for both opportunities and setbacks. Develop skills during quiet periods. Build relationships before you need them. Save resources when times are good, so you can weather storms when they come. Whatever you choose, commit to it completely. Half-hearted application of these principles is worse than not applying them at all. It makes you appear weak and indecisive, which invites others to test your resolve. Remember, Machiavelli studied power for one reason. He wanted to understand why some people consistently succeeded while others with equal talent and good intentions failed. He discovered that success isn't about being the smartest or the most virtuous person in the room. It's about understanding human psychology and applying that understanding strategically. The most successful people aren't necessarily better people. They're people who understand the game better. They see patterns others miss. They anticipate reactions others don't expect. They position themselves strategically while others react emotionally. Now you have access to the same understanding. The question is whether you'll use it wisely or waste it through inaction. Your old way of thinking about the world is dying. That person who believed everyone else operated with good intentions, who expected fairness without creating it, who gave away power without realizing it. That version of you served its purpose, but it can't take you where you want to go. You now possess knowledge that has been hidden from you your entire life. Knowledge that separates those who control their destiny from those who wonder why life happens to them. The 7 forbidden lessons of Machiavelli aren't just historical curiosities. They're the operating system of power that runs beneath every interaction, every negotiation, every relationship in your life. The choice is yours. Will you continue playing the game blindly, or will you finally play it with your eyes wide open? Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I choose power over comfort. And remember, in a world where everyone else is playing chess, don't be the person still trying to figure out checkers.